guys, it's Cam from EasyA. This video is going to be on quadratic equations and iteration formulae. So let's get started.
There are various ways we can solve quadratic equations. If the equation's really simple, we can usually rearrange it and solve it directly. Using inverse operations allows us to solve this equation easily, although I'm sure we could have spotted the solutions with some time. Notice it's got two roots, and we need to use the plus or minus sign as it can be negative or positive. If the quadratic factorizes into two brackets, we can solve it easily. For example, this one does. To solve the equation, the left-hand side has to be equal to 0. Because anything times 0 is still 0, only one of the brackets has to be 0. This means we can split it up into two separate equations. The original equation will be solved if either of these equations is solved. We can check that we have the right answer by substituting back into the original equation. If we're given a graph of the quadratic, we can spot the roots or solutions quite easily. This is just the points where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. This works because at these points y is equal to 0. Now, for our higher level topic, if the quadratic doesn't factorize, sometimes we can still solve it by using completing the square. Be sure to watch the video on factorizing quadratics to learn how to complete the square if you haven't done so already. Once we've completed the square, we can rearrange to find the roots of the original equation. We can also use completing the square to find the turning points of the quadratic. Let's set y to the equation and complete the square. Because the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1, we expect to have a minimum turning point, otherwise we'd have a maximum. The turning point happens when the bracket is equal to 0. The bracket squared is never negative because of the square. Then, we find out when the bracket is equal to 0 and we found our turning point. At higher level, for even more complicated quadratics, we'll have to use the quadratic formula. You'll have to memorize this as it's not given in the exam. It may look complicated, but it's actually not too bad. A, b and c are the coefficients of x squared, x, and the constant term. Let's solve this quadratic using the quadratic formula. Here, a is 3, b is minus 2 and c is minus 5. Substitute the values into the formula. We'll then have to do quite a lot of algebra in order to get our final values for x. Sometimes you'll need to do this on a calculator, as the numbers won't be fractions. At higher level, we can use iteration formulae to solve even more complicated equations such as cubics. You'll be given the equation to solve, as well as a formula to solve it and the starting value. Substitute this into the formula, and then you use the answer to substitute in again. Do this the amount of times that it says in the question. Each step brings you closer and closer to the actual answer. You can use the answer button on your calculator to get the previous answer in the next calculation, so you can do this a bit quicker.
Thank you for watching this EasyA Maths recap video. Check out our YouTube channel for more maths recaps, or get the EasyA app on the Apple and Android app stores to get unlimited on-demand maths tutoring right from your smartphone.